here with you today. It's going to take a minute or two for all the attendees to come in, and so we're just going to take a quick minute and just get to know each other just a touch as Zoom loads everybody up and brings everybody in. Really quickly, can you find? I think you're going to see a chat button somewhere on your screen. Can you find the chat button or a Q&A button? And would you just type in there if you can hear me? Say, yes, I can hear you. You can say, that's an amazing beard. You can comment on, these are my wisdom highlights. I have my hairdresser, dye these into my beard. They're called wisdom highlights. Or just tell me where you're from, right? Just go to that question box or chat box. See if you can find that guy. Type in and let me see if you're able to hear me. Let's see real quick. So for example, Adam, Isaiah, Charles, Deborah, Denise, Edward, Janice. I know you, Janice. Good to see you. John, we got Caitlin, got Kevin. Can you guys find the chat box or the question box and just let me know that you can hear me? Say yes, or tell me where you're from. A vain compliment for me, something. There we go. Deborah, thank you, from Sacramento, California. We have the West Coast represented. Thank you. We got Kevin from Texas. Kevin, whenever I'm speaking and somebody is from Texas, I get to claim I'm an international speaker because from what I understand, Texas considers itself another country. As a result, today I'm an international speaker. So that makes life good. So we got Edward. Hello. Thank you there. And Denise from Springfield, Pennsylvania. Love it. Janice north of Boston. Isaiah from Haiti. That's really cool. Okay, I've really gone international now then. That's great. Okay. Well, thank you so much for just popping in there. Tylesha from Norfolk, Virginia. Beautiful part of the country. It's getting cold up there right now, though, right? It's getting cold everywhere. I'm from Arizona, but I'm up in the mountains of Arizona. People don't know, but Arizona actually has 3 ski resorts, believe it or not. Going down in Tucson, up in my neck of the woods, and then you've got one over in Flagstaff, but I'm up in the cold part of Arizona. Okay. Well, I do that so that, one, you know how to connect with me and chat with me and talk with me because I love to interact with you. We're not in the same room, but I really want it to feel like we are, AJ. I want you to feel like I'm here because we love working with you. We love teaching you. WealthFit's about really watching you get to a place that you haven't been before financially, and that's exciting for us. And so one of the greatest ways to do that is for you to be able to interact with me. So feel free to use that question box to chat with me. I'll ask questions and I'll have you answer. You can ask me questions live through that question box. And that way you can tell me jokes or tell me to repeat something. We can interact through there. So that's a lot of fun. It also is great to do that so we can see that we really have a diverse group of people here from across the country, which is a lot of fun, and even Haiti. And of course, I allows everybody to get in there. AJ, I can see that. Good job. AJ found the question box. Perfect. All right. Well, with that, without further ado, let's get into this thing. We are going to talk about wholesaling legally. Now, China, who is the boss and the person in charge of me at WealthFit, who keeps me in line, I asked her, I said, what was the registration for this class? And she said there was a lot of registration, Charles, and it was a big registration. And it makes me wonder what you guys are up to. Right? Why are you interested in wholesaling legally? Are we out there committing crimes? I mean, what is it about wholesaling legally that attracted you guys? I mean, I kind of wonder if I've got like the mafia on here, right? And of course, I'm just joking. We always want to go out there, want to invest appropriately and well. And so it's a beautiful topic. It's a fun topic. And you're going to walk away today with some great information to keep you operating above the line and in a way where you can make money and feel confident that you're safe doing so. So welcome. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. My name is Ammon Brimhall, and I've been an investor for an awful long time. We'll go over that here in just a second, but well, we'll do that right now. I've been an investor for a long time. Some of you already know me. You've seen me in other intensives or classes before, but in my early 20s, I started investing. I went to a seminar, and that seminar got me into buying and selling homes. And so what I've got here are some pictures of some of my firsts. This is the very first duplex I ever purchased. My wife and I lived in this side of it. It is not a very sexy building. All right. So Deborah, not sexy at all, Donald, but the finances of this building are very sexy. We bought it on an FHA loan. We moved in with $6,000 down. And 18 years later, this year, we sold this building. Anybody want to guess what our profits were? Like what we we're able to take away from this building to buy other buildings? Anybody want to guess? We bought this building for $135,000 18 years ago. Any guesses as to what we were able to sell it for this year? Any guesses? Hector, Shah, any guesses there? Dom, what do you guys think? What do you think we sold it for, John? What do you think, Trent, Ruby? You guys are quiet. I'm going to get you to open up here, but we sold it for $470,000. Yeah, Janice's 400K. It was $470,000. We literally took profits of 340 grand, and we took it and we sold one building in Utah and went and bought 3 buildings in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Okay, 3 buildings in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Real estate is just cool. It's so fun. And this was just the first little duplex we moved into. It was in a nice neighborhood. So everybody was like, oh, you guys live in the duplexes. We don't talk to people in the duplexes. They did, but it was just a kind of a crummy little building, but it was a great asset. So it was my first rental. This year is my first tax lien where we foreclosed on the tax lien, bought the tax lien, foreclosed on it, brought the property in. We were into it like $1,800 for the tax lien, and then sold the land. It was raw land for 35 grand. This is my first fix and flip. We bought for $60,000, fix it up, sold it for $130,000. An incredible story there. Wish I could go into more detail, but this here is what I'm doing a lot of now. These are our double wide manufactured homes. We place these and then sell the double wide manufactured homes. And so these are just a few of the things I've been involved with. Now, I tell you that just so you know that I know what I'm talking about. But again, here as we go through the topic, that'll be the thing that will really indicate whether or not I'm worth listening to, right? And then as far as training, I've actually been a trainer for a lot of years. I've been training people for over 15 years. I have coached literally tens of thousands of people in real estate education and investments, and helped them get into their first deals. And so it's fun to both be an investor and an educator. And what that means, Hector, is you're going to walk away today with a lot of great information. All right. So you hold me to that. You hold me accountable for making sure you walk away just wowed with what you know. All right. That being said, please know that I'm not an attorney. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a financial planner. So John, you will need to make sure that if you need professionals that you hire them. This is for educational purposes only. It does work. It is effective, but I am not a professional accountant, attorney, or financial planner in your state. So if you need those services, please get those. Also, I cannot guarantee profits. I can share what I've made and what's gone well for me, but I can't guarantee what will happen in your state or in your area. All right. In fact, are we going through a little bit of a real estate shift right now? Everybody say yes or no. Are we going through a shift in the last 2 or 3 months? Yes or no? Everybody has to vote on this one. Gotta wake you up a little bit over there. If you're playing Tetris, come back to me. Yeah, Trent, AJ, Denise, Edward, I'm getting all yeses. Perfect. What's the shift? What's causing the shift? Isaiah, perfect. What's causing the shift? What's driving this shift in real estate right now? Who knows? Because there's an uncertainty. Trent says uncertainty. Okay. There's a very specific item that's causing the uncertainty. And you're right, Trent, it is uncertainty. What is it? Edward says yes. Inflation. Okay. Yeah, guess what? Because of inflation, and Denise, you guys got it. Because of rising inflation, the government's raised the interest rates. Well, you went from like a 3.5% interest rate to a 6.7% interest rate. You doubled interest rates, right? Well, a lot of people say, they're like, well, yeah, but historically interest rates have been 8 or 9 or 10%. And that's true. But never have we had 6.5% interest with prices as high as they are. And so nobody's really sure how the market is going to respond. And so the market is shifting. And so we talk about an earnings disclaimer. Here's what I want to tell you. There will always, Heather, always be a way to make money in real estate. We need housing. We are desperate for housing. So you are in the right space. Being with WealthFit, learning about real estate, you are definitely in the right space. You just have to pay attention and shift as the market shifts. So just because it shifts, does that mean all opportunities are gone? Not at all. It just means you have to pay attention and shift and provide real estate where those opportunities are most needed, right? So that's one of those plays that comes in. In any case, it's a great time to be alive. Lots of need out there. Here's what we're going to talk about, you and I, today, though. We're going to focus in specifically on wholesaling legally. So the way we're going to talk about that is we're going to talk about 4 things. 1, we're going to talk about the core structures of wholesaling. 2nd, we're talking about clear communication. How do we communicate clearly with sellers? 3, we'll talk about changing rules. And 4, we'll talk about your intention when you're wholesaling. Okay. Now, before we go into these though, who can tell me what wholesaling is? If you're not sure, type in not sure, right? What is wholesaling? And just a quick word or two, what is wholesaling? If you're not sure, I want to know not sure. I kind of want to have an idea of how educated you are in the wholesaling. Give me a little bit of a feel here for where you're at. So maybe tell me what it is. If you're not sure what wholesaling is, just type in not sure. And then we'll get into core structures. Okay, thank you. Denise says, I'm not totally sure, Eamon. Okay, perfect. Okay, Edward is an assignment. Love it. Jason's not quite sure. Okay, middleman. Love that. Look at Kevin here. Okay, contract for sale. Good. Okay. That's a way of certainly being creative. Okay, I'm going to assume that since I didn't get a lot of answers, I'm going to assume there's a lot of not sures there. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to talk about the core structures right here, right? We're going to talk about these, but before I go into the core structures, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and I'm going to explain what wholesaling is in a little bit of detail. All right, so listen carefully because I'm going to give you the concept, and then I'm going to talk about the core structures of wholesaling. Now, I'll be very, very clear. You're going to get a quick overview of what wholesaling is, and we're going to talk about the legalities. We have an entire intensive that goes over wholesaling in detail that I'll tell you about at the end that you can join me on. But let me at least make sure everybody's got the concept. So I'm going to draw a little bit of a picture here. And here's how we're going to do it, Jason. Let's pretend this is a farmer, and this farmer planted a rubber tree. And they grew the rubber tree, and boom, they harvested the rubber at this point. Okay, so they harvest this rubber. Well, what happens with this farmer is the farmer is not about to go out there, right, Caitlin, and do anything with this rubber. They're not going to make tires or sell tires or anything like that. What they're going to do is they're going to raise the price a little bit, Ruby, and then they're going to sell the rubber to like a manufacturing plant. That manufacturing plant will then spend a lot of time, effort, and energy turning that rubber into tires. Well, that manufacturing plant isn't going to then create a retail store to sell to you and me. They're going to raise the price and sell it to, say, Big O Tires, right? Out west, we have Big O Tires as a big retailer. Big O Tires is going to create a storefront and hire people to learn how to put tires on. And then what's going to happen is they're going to raise the prices, and then they're going to charge me, Ammon, right, money to come in, and they'll mount the tires on my car, and I can go drive my car everywhere, okay? Well, if you look at this drawing, what you're going to see is that there is one retail transaction, Tylesha, right here. I am and bought the tires retail because I am the end user of those tires. Okay. Well, right here, when Big O bought the tires from the manufacturer, or right here, when the manufacturer bought the rubber from the farmer, these were wholesaling situations. Okay. Because the manufacturer and the Big O Tires, they bought a product, right? They bought a product that wasn't fully finished, and they worked on that product, and then they marketed the product, okay? Hold on. All right. Okay. So the situation here in wholesaling is where you actually are selling the project to somebody else to complete it. You're not actually selling it to the end retailer. Okay. Well, let's apply that to real estate. This is you, the investor. You work very hard. You go out there, you do marketing, you learn how to write contracts, you make offers, you do all this work to get to know your market, and suddenly, boom, you find a seller that will sign a contract. And you can buy the house for $200,000. It needs $40,000 worth of work, and after you put the $40,000 into it, you can sell it for $375,000. Is that a good deal? Yes or no? You guys tell me. Is that a good deal? Yes or no? Is that a good deal? Yes or no? Yeah, Tailesh. And Trent, thank you for your answer. I see your response there. Yeah, that's a good deal. You bet it is. Well, guess what? Let's say you don't want to fix it up. You don't want to do all the work. You could do all the work, but you decide instead of doing all the work, what you're going to do is you're going to raise the price, and you're going to charge, let's say you're going to charge me 20 grand. So you find a rehabber, a guy like me or somebody else, and you charge them 20 grand, right? So they give you $20,000. They take over the project from there. They put $40,000 worth of repairs in. Then they raise the price and they sell it to Ammon to live in for $375, right? This was where Ammon bought the finished product retail, but you sold the project to them wholesale, and they finished it and sold it to me retail, okay? That conceptually is what wholesaling is, okay? Now, again, could you have skipped wholesaling? Sure, let me see if I can get a different color. You could have totally skipped wholesaling. You could have gone ahead and come out here and fixed it up yourself and sold it for full price, but you didn't. You sold it to somebody else who was going to finish the project, and that is wholesaling, okay? Let me stop really quickly. Does everybody now have the basic understanding of what wholesaling is overall? Give me a yes if that makes sense. Give me a no if I've confused you. If I've confused you, that's my fault. So you can say no, and it's not it's not your fault. It's mine. I'm the instructor. I'm the one that's supposed to know what I'm doing here, right? Okay. So I'm getting all yeses. Okay. So speak now or forever hold your peace. All right. Let's clear all these drawings. Perfect. So that's what wholesaling is. Well, let's talk about the core structures of wholesaling. All right. First of all, there are two legal structures of wholesaling. There's kind of a third that is it's wholesaling, but I don't call it a legal structure of wholesaling because it's a slightly different setup. But we'll talk about that. So there's the assignment of contract. That's where you own and sell the contract itself. Then there's the double close where you own and sell the house. Okay, you own. Notice the OWN. Then there's the prehab, right, where you're going to actually buy the house. You're going to spend some time fixing it up and then sell it. So the difference is here in the assignment, you never even own the house. You sell the contract and it's gone. In the double close, you own the house for maybe a couple of hours. You sell it the same day. And in the prehab, you might own the house for a couple of weeks to a couple of months. But you buy it, do a little bit of work to it, and then resell it before to let somebody else finish the project. Okay. Now, let's spend a little bit of time in each of these. This will not be a thorough explanation. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to take a deep breath, let it out, and relax. Because if you aren't sure what assignments or double closes are, when we're done, you'll have a decent idea, but you're still going to have a lot of questions. That's okay, right? Today, I want to talk about how to do it legally, and then you can join me for the intensive, and we can spend some time together going much more deeply into each of these. But let's talk about it where you get the basic idea. All right, an assignment of contract. All that means is that you own the contract, and then you're selling the contract. That's all it means. Now, let me pause. When I say all it means is you're selling the contract, that sentence normally confuses about 90% of the people I talk to. And it confused me when I first heard it because selling a contract was a weird concept. How many of you totally understand this, and how many of you does it confuse a little bit? Now, it confused me, so don't be embarrassed if it confuses you, but I want a little bit of an idea. If you get it, put get it. If it's a little weird, put weird or confusing or not sure. I want to know. Tylesha, thank you. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Trent. Thank you, AJ. I need a few more ideas here. Thank you, Denise. Give me a few more, guys. Jason, okay. I'm about 50-50 so far, just so you know. And the reason I want to know is it kind of depends on how quickly I move. Okay, I got about a 50-50. So if you didn't speak up, you're in trouble. You're grounded, right? Not really, but all right, let's look at here's what assignment means, okay? What happens is, as an investor, you'll go out there and you will actually get a purchase and sale agreement. So what that means is you'll find a seller and you'll say to the seller, where's my drawing? Hold on, there we go. You'll say to the seller, oops. Hold on. There we go. My tools are misbehaving. All right. So you'll find a seller and you'll say to that seller, hey, I want to buy your house, and you will be the wholesale buyer. This will be you. Okay. And what will happen is they will sign the agreement. They'll say that you're going to say, I'm going to buy your house for $200,000, and they will sign, and you will sign, and you now own what's called a contract or a purchase and sale agreement, right? That's what you will own. Thank you, Janice. I look forward to seeing you next week too. So there'll be a purchase and sale agreement. Okay. Now you own this contract. You own this contract. Now you can sell this contract to somebody else. So you come over here and find a rehab buyer, maybe a guy like me. You say, hey, Ammon, will you buy this contract? Pay me $20,000 and I will assign this contract to you. Okay, now let me pause for just a second. What I just said sounded like Greek to about half of you. I'm going to give you an example. Has anybody ever had a cell phone contract where you committed to pay a cell phone contract for a couple of years and then you wanted out of it, right? So this was you. You had a cell phone contract here, the cell phone contract here, and then this was the, oops, that's supposed to be a P. That's a P, not an R, P. And this was the cell phone company, right? Well, you signed a contract to pay for 2 years. Well, you get 1 year in, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want this other year. Well, the cell phone company says, well, if you will pay me $200, I will let you have the contract and you're out of it. That is selling a contract. Okay. Let me give you another example. How many of you have ever had like a house payment or a car payment? And yes, I'm an artist. I know you can be jealous. I don't do art lessons. Sorry. It's just a skill that I'm just not going to teach you. So it's an amazing, I think that's a Jaguar I just drew there. Let's say you have a car payment. You ever had a house or a car payment? You're making payments to one bank and suddenly you get a letter that says, dear borrower, we just bought the loan from that bank. You now need to pay us instead of them. Well, that's all they did. You had a promise to pay. Let's say you're paying Wells Fargo, and then boom, it came over here and it got sold, and Chase Bank bought that note. Well, they bought the note. Now, guess what? You were paying them. Now you have to pay Chase Bank. That's what it means to sell a contract. You're selling the rights that belong to that contract. Okay. So guess what? When you go in here and you so wonderfully and amazingly get this seller to agree to sell to you as a wholesale buyer this property for $200,000, is the seller legally obligated to sell the house to you? Yes or no? You all have to vote. Is the seller legally obligated to sell you the house for $200,000? Yes or no? You all have to vote. I want to see lots of answers. I don't care if you get it wrong, just vote. Are they legally obligated? Beautiful. 100% correct so far. Wonderful. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. That's right. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Edward and Janice and Tylesha and Janice and everybody and Donna. Well done. And if I didn't say your name, forgive me. They're kind of going fast. Here's the question. Because you now own that legal right, can you sell it? Again, you all have to answer. Can you sell it? You now own the right. You have the exclusive right to buy the house for $200,000. Can you sell that right? Yes, you can. Why is this on the double close? My goodness gracious. There we are. You'd think I was drinking. I haven't ever drank a drop of alcohol in my life, but the way these slides are going, you honestly would think I was drunk. I think I'm drunk, and I'm not. Supposed to be on the assignment, not the double close. My bad. Yeah. So yeah, you have the right to sell this contract. Well, when you sell a contract, I don't know why it's called an assignment when you sell a contract. If you sell like a watch, it's called a bill of sale. If I'm going to sell you my watch, just take it off and do a bill of sale. Well, in a wholesale agreement, it's called an assignment. Okay. And so this assignment, all this says is that, you are selling this contract to the end buyer, right? There you go. You have the right to buy this property. I like Edward's like right, not obligation. He's getting into like option language there, Edward. I love you. So what we have here is we have this end buyer. When you sell this right to the end buyer for 20 grand, you get the 20 grand. Well, is the seller now legally obligated? This is an important question. Is the seller now legally obligated to sell the house to the end buyer for $200,000? Yes or no? You sold your rights to me, the end buyer. Is the seller now legally obligated to sell me the property instead of you? Yes or no? You all have to vote. Okay, the answer is yes, they are legally obligated. Okay, they are legally obligated. Okay, and thank you for that comment, AJ. Okay, how many of you want me to go through this one more time? Say yes if you want me to go through this one more time. The seller is definitely legally obligated. Okay, I'm getting lots of yeses. Let's go through this one more time. Okay, let's go through this one more time. I'm getting lots of yeses on this. All right, so let's start out with this is the seller, and this is you, the wholesale buyer. You get them to sign a purchase and sale agreement for $200,000, right? That says that you have the right to buy the house. This is called a purchase and sale agreement, okay? Do you now have the exclusive right to buy the house for $200,000? Yes or no? Okay, is everybody okay with this first part of the step? Is everybody okay with this part? Okay, now, if you haven't done this a lot, you don't understand how powerful these are. There are purchase and sale agreements that truly lock the house up, right? If you, AJ, have this contract, the seller can't sell it to anybody else. They can't don't sell to anybody else. If they do, you can sue them. So this is very, very powerful. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sell that right. That's what normally confuses us. Now, what I want you guys to stop trying to do is making sense of it, right? I mean, you know, it's kind of weird that you sell rights. I mean, it's kind of right. I mean, if I'm going to sell this phone, that makes sense. I can touch it. So we're used to, here's a phone and here's 200 cash. We're used to that. What we're not used to is selling a right. So, for example, let's say that I don't know. Let's say that I create music, right? And I don't. You do not want to hear my music. It'd be dangerous. It'd be harmful. You would be sad if you heard it, actually. But let's say I did create music and it was amazing music. It was great music. Okay. Can anybody just take my music and play it and sell it and give it to people? Or do they have to ask my permission? They have to ask my permission, right? Because I own the rights. It's my music. So what would happen is I might assign the rights to my music to them and say, I will give you permission to use my music. That's called selling a right. It's not a physical thing like a phone. You're selling a right. Well, that's all this is. Right now, you have the exclusive right to buy this house for 200 grand. You can sell that right to somebody else. So let's put my name in it. Let's say that here is Ammon Brimhall. I am an investor. I buy, fix, and flip houses. You say, hey, Ammon, there's a house that you can buy for 200,000 if you put in 20K, right? If you put in 20K, this house is worth 375. Do you want the house? What do I say? If I'm a guy out hunting for deals, am I going to be excited about that project? I can buy it for 220. And then, or I can buy it for 200. So I can buy it, put in 20, sell for 375. Am I excited? I'm incredibly excited. Okay. I'm incredibly excited. So what happens is, you tell me, and AJ, I think it's coming to you. We're almost there. You say, Ammon, I have the rights for 200,000. I will sell them to you. Let's change the number a little bit. I'll sell them to you for 25 grand, right? If you will pay me 25 grand, you, Ammon, now have the right to buy the house. I will give you my rights to buy the house. So now I would have to pay 225 because I have to pay 25 to you. So I pay 225 for the house. Then I put in 20, then I sell it for 375. Is this still a good deal? Yes or no? I paid you 25. I'm going to pay the seller 200. I'm going to put 20 into the house and sell it for 375. Yes, it's still a good deal. That's why I'm willing to pay you 25 grand, because you found the deal for me and I don't have to go hunt for it for myself, right? And that's valuable to guys like me. Okay. Now let me ask the question again. If you have sold me the right to buy the house, is the seller obligated to honor that right? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Okay. Now, I don't want to spend a lot more time here, but does everybody get at least the basic idea of what an assignment is? You do the work to find and negotiate your work. Welcome, Tailasha. You do the work to find and negotiate, put something under contract, but you don't want to buy it yourself. So you sell that right to a guy like me. I pay you money for that right, and then I go directly to the seller, and I'm the one that comes up with the cash. You don't have to come up with anything because you sold my right. I end up consummating the contract and buying it, and that is called an assignment of contract. Okay. All right. This is a quiz you must answer unless you're driving or at work. Then you don't have to. If you're not driving and not at work and you don't answer, I do have a set of ninjas. They will find you and they will eliminate you. So answer if you're not at work or driving. Okay. What is it that you are selling in an assignment? What are you selling in an assignment? Jason asked, what about the earnest money? Yeah, anytime there's a purchase and sales agreement, Jason, there will be earnest money. Yes. Good, Donna. Good, Jason. Good, Denise. Kevin, you got it. Janice, you got it. Good. You're selling the contract or the rights, right? You're selling the contractual rights, and you can shorten that by simply saying I'm selling the contract, because my definition of contract has rights to it. Okay. You're selling the contract. You own the rights. Why? Because the seller signed and gave them to you. You own them. You are selling something that you own. All right. Cool. Sweet. Now, there's so much more I could talk about, but if you've got what I just said, you are sitting excellently. You are in a really beautiful space. And if you recognize it takes a purchase and sale agreement and an assignment, you literally have learned a ton. Okay, a lot of people never get that far conceptually. You're doing wonderfully. Okay, all right, let's shift to our second structure of wholesale. It's called a double close. Okay, the double close is a little bit different. Okay, it's very similar, but a little bit different. Mostly the same, but here's what happens. Here's the seller. Here's you, the wholesale buyer right now. Okay, you have a $200,000 contract. But now, instead of selling me the contract, you're actually going to sell me the house. So you're going to open what's called an escrow account. You may not fully know, Ruby or Renaud or Kevin, what an escrow account is, but it's where you go to like a title attorney, or you go to Jason or John, Caitlin, you go to a title attorney or a title company, and you open an escrow account. And what happens is you're going to open this escrow account, and then they're going to help you buy the property. You're going to buy the property. Well, you've agreed to buy it for $200,000. Then you go find me, and you agree to sell me the house for $235,000. Okay, so now you become the wholesale seller. We open another escrow account, and then I come in and I buy the property. Okay, so in the double close, there is one purchase and two purchase. In the assignment, there was only one purchase, right? You got the purchase and sale agreement, you sold that to me, and then I purchased the house. In this case, you actually buy it and then you resell it. Okay. Now, let me stop for a second. That makes sense. Say yes. If I've lost you, maybe put confused or not sure or question mark. Let me know how you're feeling about this. Let's see here. Thank you, guys. Okay, gotcha. So this one made a little more sense, but there's still a good about 30% where it doesn't make sense. Okay. Now, by the way, do not worry if this is a little bit weird to you. Okay, when this is not something you just wake up and it makes sense. It's a totally new concept. So please don't worry if it doesn't totally make sense. You're with WealthFit. You have so many ways to get incredibly affordable education. It will make more and more sense as you go on. So don't worry about it if it doesn't make sense. Okay. In here, let me go through it again. Here's the seller. You are the wholesale buyer, right? So you have an agreement to buy the house for $200,000. Now, in the assignment, you were just going to sell the contract, right? You were going to sell the contract to me. You weren't actually going to buy the house. You were not going to actually buy it. You were going to sell it to me, and then I was going to buy it. But this is different. This is a double close, not an assignment. So here's the seller, $200,000. Here's you, the wholesale buyer. So you're actually going to buy the house. You're not just going to sell the contract. You're going to buy the house. And then that's step one. Then you're going to sell the house. Okay. And you're going to become the wholesale seller, and I'm going to become the rehab buyer. And so step two, right? You're going to sell the house to me. Now, you can do this all on the same day. You can literally buy this at 9 a.m., right? And then you can sell this house at 12 p.m. Okay. Literally same day. And this sounds really weird, but you can actually buy this house at 12 p.m., but already have it sold at 9 a.m. You could have sold it 3 hours earlier. Okay. Now that sounds weird because you don't know how escrow works. But the point is, don't worry too much about what I just said there. Just know that you're going to buy the house and sell the house in the exact same day. How is that different from the assignment? As best as you can, tell me how that's different than the assignment. How's that different? In the assignment, you were selling the contract. In the double close, you're selling what? In the assignment, you're selling the contract. In the double close, you're selling what? AJ, correct. Good job. And I don't care if you get it wrong. I don't care. Get it wrong. It doesn't matter. Hopefully you know me by now. I love you to death. I don't care if you get it wrong. You're here to learn, so who cares? Good. You guys are getting it, right? You're selling the property. You're selling the house. Correct. That's exactly right. So the difference is in the double close, you buy the house and then you sell the house on the same day. Whereas in the assignment, you just got the contract and then you sold the contract. And then your buyer buys the house. Okay. So in one, you own the contract. The other, you buy the house. Here's the key question. In both situations, do you own something? Yes or no? In both situations, do you own something? Yes or no? You do own something. That is what makes it legal. Okay. In most states, in most areas, you do not need a license to sell something that's yours, right? You do need a license to sell somebody else's house for them, but you don't need a license to sell something that's yours. And that's why wholesaling is legal. You are selling your own property. Okay. That's what makes it legal. Now let's go to our next strategy here, which is very similar to the double close. It's different in a little bit of a way, but it's called the prehab. You're actually going to buy the house, clean it up a little bit, then sell it. You're not going to rehab. You're just going to clean it up a little bit. So literally, you buy the house. Let me get my drawing here. You buy it, step one, buy it. But now instead of selling it the same day, step one, then you clean it, step two. Literally, my cousin and I did a deal, one of my very first ones. And we bought the property. We literally went there that weekend. She and I, we spent like 8 hours where we mucked out the carpets, we chopped the weeds, we scrubbed it. So it was an empty shell of a house, but it was clean. All the dog and cat crap was out of it. The weeds were knocked down. So it looked so much better. And then we put it on the market. And about 4 weeks later, we sold it, right? And so we sold it, and that was actually step three. But the difference is we owned it for about a month, and we made $20,000 profit, almost exactly, right? Now, we just thought that we'd make more money if we cleaned it first, and that's why we did that. Now, I've learned since that we probably would have made about the same money if we hadn't done a prehab, but there are definite scenarios where a little bit of scrubbing can get you 20, 30, 40,000 more, okay? It's kind of like me. I'm not that attractive, right? And so especially when I've been out around the house and playing with the kids and doing things on my honey-do list on Saturday, and I come in all covered with dirt, and it's like, I married that, what in the heck, right? And then she says, go take a shower. And I get in the shower and I scrub up and I comb my hair and I put a nice set of clothes on. She says, all right, now you're bearable, right? Okay, now I'll go out with you. Now you're bearable to look at, okay? And it's a big difference, okay? Same thing with a house. Sometimes you'll buy it, do a little bit of rehab, and you'll sell it. However, in a prehab, what am I selling? What am I selling? Do I own anything in a prehab? And by the way, Kevin asks if you're doing an assignment, you open escrow. Kevin, yes, you do open escrow for an assignment. It's just you'll open escrow, then you'll sell your contract, and then the other person will close out that escrow, right? Correct, Donna and AJ, perfect. Yeah, I own the house again, right? I'm going to buy it and sell it because I own the house. So once again, a prehab is something that I own. I actually own the house. As a result, it's perfectly legal to sell something I own without a license. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions before we go to the dog side? AJ says, between the first two strategies, which one is better? I don't know, AJ. It's kind of like asking a basketball player, what's better, a three-point shot or dunking it? Just kind of depends. What's happening? Are you guys going down the court really fast with four of you? Well, you're probably going to, if there's four of you and one of the opponent, you're going fast, you're probably going to dunk it. You're going to pass, get in there close, and get the dunk for the sure 2 points. Or what if you've got, the opposing team's down there, they're guarding really well, they got a great defense, you got an incredible 3-point shooter, and he's open. Well, you're going 3 points. So which one's better, the 3-point or the dunk? Depends on the situation. So they're both really, really effective in the right situation. However, I will say this, the assignment, if we can, we love that one. It's faster, it's quicker. It's less expensive. So if we can, we do that one. But it just depends on the situation as to which one we go about. Okay. Good. Any questions? By the way, guys, we're gonna be out about 15 after the hour. Is everybody okay with that? About 15 after the hour. We might be done a little bit sooner than that, but are we gonna be okay with that, everybody? I should have said that in the beginning. Okay, good. I'm having fun. I hope you are. I love this stuff. You can make some really good stuff. AJ, don't worry about it, buddy. There will be a recording. You can rewatch this and get the final parts of it. Okay. And you will have most of it. Just if you want to join me, if you have to go early, just get all the support. If you want to join me for the intensive that will be starting next week, we'll do a wholesaling intensive. Okay. All right. Here's the dark side. It's called bird dogging. Okay. What you're selling in a bird dogging situation is information. Okay. Okay. So you're getting paid for giving someone information. Really quickly, can you really own information? I mean, you can, but if I just happen to know that my neighbor Susan is selling her house, do I really own that? Can I sue somebody else if they share that information? What do you think, John, Caitlin? Can I just happen to find out my neighbor Susan is selling her house or not. Do I really own that data? I don't own that data. And so what happens is maybe John calls me up and says, hey, Ammon, my neighbor Susan is selling her house. If you buy it, I want $5,000. In this case, what does John own? What does John own? What does he own? He owns nothing. Nothing. He has no ownership. As a result, that is technically not allowed, right? You're getting paid just for selling somebody information. It's technically not allowed. Now, when I say technically, here's what I mean to say. Is there really anything morally wrong with you saying, hey, Ammon, my neighbor Susan's selling her house, and if you end up buying it, would you give me $5,000 for giving you the lead? Is there really anything morally wrong with that? I mean, have you done anything really evil to your neighbor? I don't think so. I don't think there's anything morally wrong with it at all. But for whatever reason, the way the laws are set up in our country, technically speaking, this would be a civil breach of law, which means you can be fined for it. Let's stop for just a quick second. What is the difference between a civil breach of law and a criminal breach of law? Very important question. If for nothing else, this question alone will help you in your business and regular life enough that it was so worth your time here today. What's the difference between civil and criminal? Yeah, Trent says with a civil, you don't go to jail. Perfect. Yeah, civil is just kind of a contractual thing where you kind of broke an agreement, but you didn't punch somebody in the face. You didn't rob anything. It's just like, well, we agreed to this and you didn't keep your agreement, right? Well, I didn't agree not to do bird dogging. The government just said I can't. I didn't agree to it. My parents elected the person who set that up, right? So, but the point is this. The government says technically if you don't have a license, you can't get paid for information, right? So technically you can't, all right? Well, how do we deal with that? Guys, when you're brand new investors, do you sometimes are a little scared to write a contract? Are you sometimes a little nervous to step up and negotiate? Do you sometimes just want to tell a guy like me about a property? Yeah, you often do. And it's actually great. So here's how we deal with it. Number one, use the two approved structures. Go ahead and get it under contract and either assign it to me or double close it. That's one way. Use the two approved structures. Another way to do it is to joint venture. Hey, Mr. Investor, Miss Investor, I found this deal. Would you joint venture with me? Would you go in with me and buy it? Well, now you're not getting money for information. You're creating a partnership, a short-term partnership called a joint venture. Another way you can do it is act as an acquisition specialist. Now, why does this work? I don't know. It's just the law. But here's what I've seen some attorneys do who often will do, essentially they want a bird dog, but they want to do it legally. So here's you, and you happen to have this really great seller that's just hopping to sell the property. Here's the investor. The investor says, look, we're going to sign an acquisition specialist agreement, which essentially says you are working for me, right? We have this agreement. You're out working for me. And this agreement says I will pay you a certain, commission or a certain amount of money for every deal that you find me. And so then when you refer this over, you are getting your acquisition fee as agreed upon in this acquisition specialist role. In other words, you're getting paid for a job. You're not getting paid for information. Okay. How many of you think that's a little bit silly? How many of you think this is just kind of a really weird little technicality? How many think that's a little bit silly? I think it's a little bit silly. But guess what? Will it get you around that little requirement? Yes, it will get you around that little requirement. Okay. Yeah, it's red tape. And again, it's part of the challenge of what we live in. Okay. Now, again, please understand also, I should say this, that technically you should not speed either. But how many of you have sped in the last week? By the way, this is being recorded. So if you say yes, I have to report you. I'm just teasing. I won't report you. But how many of you sped in the last week? Yeah, if you went 5 miles over, that was a civil breach of agreement. You guys do it all the time, okay? And you can get a ticket for it, okay? Same thing with wholesaling. If you are wholesaling without a contract or without the house, it could be considered a civil breach. You could potentially receive a fine. Well, how do you get around it? You use the two approved structures, you joint venture, or you sign up as whoever you're trying to give it to as their acquisition specialist. You create an acquisition specialist agreement that says you're going to get paid if you find them deals. And then you're getting paid for a job, not for information. Okay? Perfect. All right, let's switch to our next topic. By the way, we had 4 things to cover. That's one. That is by far the largest topic for today. Okay? Let's move in and let's talk about clear communication. This one is incredibly important. Yeah, Ronald, we will have a recording. So just reach out to, well, you know what, China, I need to learn where these links are, or I should be beat up because I don't. But yeah, don't worry, Ronald. There will be a link where you can rewatch this, and then if you want to join me for the wholesaling intensive, we'll have 5 weeks together when you can reach out to support and ask them for that link. or at the end of this presentation, we'll show you how to join us for that. But thank you for being here. So glad you're here. Please enjoy the rest of your week and the class you're going to. All right, clear communication. Clear communication. Let's get really serious about this, okay? Number one, be clear with people. I mean, seriously, be clear with people. Be accurate when you're speaking and be honest. Now, I know this seems pretty straightforward, but John, here's what happens. We go and take some sales training, or we talk to some big sales guru, and they tell all these really clever way to say things, and they're not really upfront about the fact that they're a little bit devious because they're withholding information. They're painting this narrative that's kind of true. It's kind of has a toe in truth, but the rest of it is just kind of trying to paint this picture that's semi-untrue, right? And so make sure you're clear, you're accurate, and you're honest. Let's talk about that. Okay, so let's talk about being clear. First of all, when you're talking to people, tell them, I am an investor. Tell them right there. Tell them, I might wholesale this project. Now, don't use the word wholesale, Caitlin. They don't know what that means. What you'll say is something along the lines of, hi, just so you know, I'm an investor and I tend to make money with this project. Are you okay with that? They'll say, well, yeah, I'm fine with that. Say, great. Well, I have partners. And Ronald, I may end up having one of my partners complete the project. If I do, they will pay me for letting them complete the project. Are you okay if I were to sell this to one of my partners and they complete the project, I made a profit? Are you okay with that? Okay. Now, that's me. You will find real estate investment trainers out there saying, never tell them you're an investor. Just say you and your wife are interested in buying a house in the neighborhood, or don't ever tell them that you might wholesale to somebody else. Look, what we do is a blessing if it's done right. And if it's a blessing, there's no need to hide it. All right. If you're hiding it, then you probably got training from somebody who isn't marketing effectively and or well. Okay. We can be tactful, but we're going to be very straightforward. Look, I am here, Hector, to make a profit. I may sell this project to somebody else. That's very clear. That way down the road, they can't say, well, I didn't know you were going to wholesale it. Now, what's funny is in the state of Arizona, they literally just passed a law that says you have to disclose that you're going to wholesale. Well, I just laughed because I had some realtors call and tell me, I said, guys, I've been disclosing for years, right? For years. It's just the right thing to do, right? Now, next is be accurate. Give accurate numbers. Don't go into somebody and say, well, yeah, your house is probably worth, 90,000 and show them all the worst comps when you know full well their house is worth 150. That's not accurate. You're being inaccurate. Now, you could say, well, yeah, but that's just interpretation, right? Okay. Well, now you can say it's worth 90 in its current condition, right? Now that's accurate, but don't interpret things in an inaccurate way. I guess I could call that be honest as well, but be accurate. Don't fudge numbers. Be accurate. Learn how to do your assessments properly. Okay. Tell them the proper procedures and options for their situation, right? Meaning, give them the full amount of information. Don't withhold things from them that might make a difference. Now, you don't have to be their social worker. You don't have to solve all their problems, but make sure you let them know that they do have options. For example, I'll be accurate. When somebody says, well, what's going on? I'll say, well, at auction, your house could get sold and you might not get any money out of it. Nothing. You might get zero at the auction. Now, if the auction goes up high enough, you might get some money, but the investors have to show up and bid up high enough, right? Now, you also could maybe get a real estate agent and they could sell it in 6 weeks before it goes to auction, but that's probably not likely going to happen. Notice what I'm doing, Caitlin. I'm telling them the accurate process. You could potentially sell it, or you might actually make money if it goes to auction. It's not likely, but you might. See, a lot of investors won't tell them that. If it goes to auction, you've lost it, right? Or, man, there's only 6 weeks. There's no way you'll get it sold. I'll tell them you might. It's highly unlikely, but you could, right? And then, of course, make sure you're open with them about potential problems. When you put a property under contract, be open. Hey, I might do inspections and find problems. Or, hey, I may try to evict the tenants and we may run across some difficulties with that. In other words, be accurate about what's going on. Don't hold back information. Don't mislead them. Be accurate. That's how you stay out of hot water. If you're not clear and you're not accurate, this is a situation where very, very good people sometimes end up in some really not fun lawsuits. And they end up in front of a judge who then makes them give the house back or the money's back with a fine. Now, you probably wouldn't go to jail, but it can be very, very painful to get into a lawsuit. So, and even if you don't get into a lawsuit, it just feels better. So be clear and be accurate in what you're doing. And then lastly, be honest, okay? I think when I was young, I got this training from all these people and, I thought I was being a good salesman. And it took me a couple of years, maybe a little bit of a life experience to say, that's not good salesmanship. That's dishonesty. That's not persuasion. That's manipulation. And so make sure you give them information they deserve to hear, right? Like, hey, you could list this with a real estate agent. Let me show you a deal I'm doing right now that I literally got this deal just a couple months ago. We'll be closing on buying it this week. Okay. I don't want to do that. Can you guys still see my screen? Can you see me looking stuff up? Can you still see me looking things up? Okay, thank you. Awesome. All right. Sometimes when I switch screens, sometimes it changes. Well, it's not going to let me see the front of the house. Okay. This is the house right here, you guys. Okay. I literally called this guy up. It was in foreclosure, and my whole thing was, I said, hey, my name's Ammon, right? I sent him a message, actually, a video message, and I said, hey, my name's Ammon. I'm an investor. I would love to buy your house. However, you have options. You might list your home with a real estate agent. You might sell it to another investor. Maybe you fix it up and take care of it yourself. I don't know what you want to do, but I commit to either get you a great attorney, get you a great real estate agent, or get you good advice. And then if you end up wanting to sell it, I just like an opportunity to make an offer. But please get a hold of me if you need any information, right? Well, guys, that's what I meant about being honest. Give the information they deserve to hear. I told him flat out he has other options, right? Maybe an agent could solve his problem. Maybe another investor could offer more, okay? Now, if you do that right, you're just building trust. And I'll often say an agent can help you sell, and another investor might. I think I'm one of the best, most honest people you'll deal with. So if you let me make an offer, I think you'll be happy. But I want you to know you have other options. Resist the urge to make up stories. A lot of people, oh, me and my wife were just in the neighborhood and we want to buy your house. Well, it's a made up story, right? You're making it sound as if you want to move into it. It's called a strategic deception. Not going to go to jail for it, but just be honest, be upfront with people, know what's going on, right? Avoid those calculated deceptions, okay? And then, of course, don't take advantage of the innocent or the ignorant, okay? Now, when I say ignorant, I don't mean that it's not an insult, right? There are many things in my life of which I'm ignorant. I'm not insulting myself, I'm not an ignorant person. I'm just ignorant of certain things. There was a gal in Colorado who, she was very elderly. She bought her house for like $60,000. So some investor offered her $80,000. So she's like, I'm making 20. That's great. Well, he like wholesaled it to a guy, made $100,000. That guy wholesaled it, chained it again, made another $100,000. That guy fixed it up and made like $400,000. So look at that. There was like $600,000 spread there. Okay. Did they maybe take advantage of that elderly woman? What do you guys think? What would you vote? Was 80 grand maybe a little unfair to that woman? What would you guys say? It's her job to know, right? Yeah, when you get as elderly as this woman was, I think it was a little unfair. I think they should have said, hey, your house is worth quite a bit. Now, it does need some work. It does need some updating. I do need to get a discount. I need to make a profit. So I do need to get it for less than what it would sell for after it's fixed up. But yeah, to give her 80 when the house was easily worth, 400,000 or 500,000 current condition was dishonest. All right. Well, guess what? The law found out about that, and that's how laws get made. Well, whether laws get made or not, guys, just be honest, be clear, be accurate, be honest. This is not brain surgery. If you are those three, you will stay out of hot water. You'll stay out of lawsuits. You will stay out of problems that one might find you, but for the most part, you'll stay out of them. Be clear, be accurate, be honest. Okay. Yeah. Janice says, absolutely. My own mother might have lost her second lot here. Yeah. Okay. Now, again, that doesn't mean you have to offer them full price. I've gone to elderly people before and said, look, I am an investor. If I don't make a profit, I can't buy your house. And here's how I run my numbers. And I'm offering them, their house might be worth, $300,000. I'm offering them, 180, right? And I say, here's why I have to do that. So, but I'm very clear and upfront about why. So don't be afraid of discounts. Just don't get such a big discount because somebody isn't aware of what's going on that you've now truly crossed the line and made advantage of them. All right, next, changing rules. And by the way, we're moving quite nicely. We're doing very, very well, okay? Changing rules. You have to understand this. This is so important, Janice and Jason and John. Rules change state to state, okay? Rules change state to state, all right? Rules change every single year, and rules change topic to topic, okay? So how do you deal with rules changing state to state? You have to do your research, all right? You have to do your research. You have to ask the title companies in your state, what are the rules of wholesaling? You have to ask attorneys, what are the rules of wholesaling? You can call up government agencies. Believe it or not, you can actually get the statutes. I remember when I first learned to do this, I just said, well, where's the law written? And I just went and got the law and I read it. And I was like, oh, you don't have to be an attorney to read the law. Just get the law, look it up, read it. Okay. So research, it's very simple. Title companies, investment clubs, investors, attorneys, Googling the statute, you can find it. Okay. Rules change every year. Well, stay in touch. Be connected to real estate agents. They're always going to seminars, update what's going on. Be aware of investment clubs. They are always aware of how laws are changing, right? Pay attention to the politics. What bills are coming up? What are they proposing? Is it likely to get passed or not? So just stay in touch as things change. Like I said, my team called me up and said, Ammon, did you know that you have to disclose when you do a wholesale in Arizona now? I said, well, thanks for letting me know. I did not know. Okay. Now, it doesn't change the way I do business, but because I was connected as that law changed, I was aware of it. Okay. And then remember, right, you need a strong, something is okay according to the IRS, doesn't mean that your local municipality is okay with it. Doesn't mean that, that your title company is okay with it. So make sure you have attorneys, make sure you have accountants, make sure you have title companies. So when you say, I'm trying to do X, your accountant can say, I'm okay with that, right? Your attorney can say, I'm okay with that. Your title company can say, I'm okay with that, but I need you to do these couple of different shifts. Have a strong team. So if you do your research, you stay in touch and you have a strong team, you'll be aware of the changes that happen place to place, okay? So for example, in Illinois, you do one wholesale per year. If you do more than that, you have to get a real estate agent's license. Even if you own the contract or own the house, Illinois says you can only do one per year, then you need a license. Well, Illinois is pretty strict about it. Their penalties are pretty big. So you need to obey the law in Illinois. Ohio, when you're selling a purchase and sale agreement, you can't say, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for sale, Kevin. They don't want you to do that. You have to say, I have a contract on a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for sale. You have to put the word contract in your advertising. You see, in Arizona, I don't have to do that. I can just say, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for sale, Ruby, and I might only be selling the contract, but I don't have to say that. Now, when they call me, I'll say, well, I'll sign the contract to you. In Ohio, you have to assign the contract. Okay. In Ohio, you must also wait to own the property before you sell it. So in Arizona, I might have a property under contract. I'll call another investor and say, hey, I'll double close it. And we enter that second contract, and 20 days later, I buy and sell it on the same day. But I had that contract beforehand. Well, in Ohio, I have to buy it before I go tell my buddy about it and sell it to him. So Ohio makes double closing a little bit more difficult, right? So again, those are laws of Ohio. And in Arizona, again, I just learned you must disclose your intention to wholesale. If by law, if you do not, then they can just step out of the contract. Say, well, he didn't tell me, I'm out of the contract. Okay. These are just some examples. It's your job, though, to step out and talk to investment clubs, title companies, attorneys, other investors, and learn if there are any special laws to wholesaling in your state. Okay. All right. And lastly, and then we'll wrap up here. I think we'll be done before 15 minutes after the hour. So we're just about there. Intention is everything. Now, as I talk about this, I'm going to have to address kind of the fact that many of us, when we start, we don't intend to buy the house. Let me talk about what it means. Generally speaking, if you were to end up before a court of law and somebody was going to say, well, he was trying to wholesale, but he never intended to buy the house. Well, technically they could get you, right? When you enter a contract, say, I'm signing the right to buy the house, it means you kind of have the intent to buy it. You actually do buy houses. Well, I do. I buy a lot of houses and sell a lot of houses. I do it. So it's very easy for me to tell a judge, well, look at all the houses I've owned just this year. Of course I intended to buy it. I just happened to end up being able to sell it, and that turned out to be a better element, but my intention changed, right? You also have to have the ability. Well, if I write a contract to buy a house, but I didn't have the money to buy it, well, obviously I couldn't have really intended to buy it because I didn't have the money, right? Okay. Well, if you have the money and you buy properties, you can show that you really intend to buy. And as a result, right, you can now go ahead and wholesale properties. Okay, really quickly. I've been real estate investing for 20 years. How many times have I ever heard of an investor showing up in court being right in a lawsuit where the seller is trying to prove that you never intended to buy the house? How many times have I ever heard of a lawsuit like that? You guys all guess really quickly. Guess real fast, and then we'll wrap up here. Zero. Absolutely zero. Okay. If you hear attorneys, my brother is an attorney. I need more attorney jokes. I've run out over the years. I got to get more, though. He deserves to hear them. He's a good guy, but boy, the jokes are great. Zero. Because intention is very, very, very hard to prove. Okay. Now, when I bring this up, you need to be aware of it, because that's kind of at its heart what they say. A wholesaler is somebody who had a contract where they actually intended to purchase. If they didn't intend to purchase, it wasn't a legal contract to begin with. Well, when I started, guys, I didn't have any money available. I wasn't buying and selling properties, yet I wholesaled in the beginning. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you go back to this slide, this right here, right? If you go back to, where'd it go? Be clear, be accurate, be honest. You're going to be fine. Tell them what you're up to. Tell them what you're about. Tell them where you're headed, right? You don't necessarily have to tell them, I don't have any money, right? But you will still, they will know what you're up to, and they won't be offended when you're not wholesaling, okay? You'll be fine. In other words, what I'm saying is, do you end up fudging this one a little bit? You do fudge it a little bit, okay? Now, I do want to say one more thing, though, before we move forward. And I'm backing up a little bit. Time out. No, let me finish this up. So what I'm trying to teach you is, technically, you have to intend to purchase. But it's something that never comes up, is never brought up. And so as beginning investors, just be aware that that's out there. But if you're really, really, really scared about it, then joint venture. In other words, come to a guy like me and say, hey, joint venture with me. Then I sign the contract and intention is there, right? So a joint venture, you bring somebody who does have the money, then you have the intention. If you're not scared about it, then again, many investors over the history of time will continue. They actually go ahead and wholesale, even though they don't truly have or cannot prove the intent to purchase. But I do need you at least to know that it's there. Okay. Now let me back up a little bit. And that is to say, when you're talking with somebody whose home you're going to wholesale, please don't act like an agent. Okay. So this is a part about being clear. Don't tell them, I will help you find a buyer. That's the wrong language. That's what agents do. You're not going to help them find a buyer. You are going to find your own buyer for your contract or your house. You are offering to buy their house. So I'm going to make an offer to buy your house. I might sell my rights to that. I might sell the project to somebody else, but do not tell them you're going to help them find a buyer. You see, that's what agents do. They represent, okay? You are not earning a commission. Don't say, well, I'll help you find a buyer, then I'll just get a commission. No, that's what agents do. To do that, you need a license. If you don't have a license, you can get fined. It's a civil issue. Say, no, I'm going to make an offer to buy your house, and then I may sell that project to somebody else, and I will be paid an assignment fee, or I will make a profit on that sale. But don't say I will represent you, and don't say you're earning a commission. Okay? If you just avoid those words, you'll be clear. You'll be in good shape. Okay? All right, guys. Here's what we've covered. We talked about what wholesaling is, so now you have at least a good idea of what it is. Then we talked about being clear and transparent and honest, just really being open with people. Let them know what's going on. Communicate what's happening, and that will put you in the clear. Then we talked about staying current with your state laws. It's really not that tough a thing to do. You just have to step out there and do it. And then, of course, if you do items 1 through 3, you'll be able to navigate each situation appropriately. Even if you don't quite have the intent to purchase that you need, you'll still be able to do it in a way that will be profitable and get you to the end goal. All right? Beautiful. If you have any questions, start throwing them at me here today. I do want you guys to know that, this was a quick, hour and 5 minutes, so it went by very, very fast. Of course, when you have 20 years of investing experience, it's impossible to get all that data out in that single hour. And so we have a variety of ways of educating. So if you want to spend 5 weeks with me, wait, no. Yes, 5 weeks, 10 sessions. Then join me for the 30-day wholesaling intensive. We'll be starting at October 31st through November 30th. That'll be Mondays and Wednesdays from 5 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time. I'm sorry, 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific time. That's what I meant to say. So essentially 5 to 6:30 Eastern time. So an hour and a half. But if you'd like to join me there, enroll in the WealthFit.com intensives/wholesaling. But with that, what questions do you have? What can I answer for you in terms of wholesaling legal? What are your concerns or questions that I can answer for you? And by the way, thanks for being a part of this. I've had a blast and I enjoyed being a part here. What questions do you have here? Any questions at all? John, Caitlin, Jason, Bernard? You're welcome, Donna. Edward, Gail, Hector, Jay Shaw, Deborah, Cynthia. Oh, Cynthia. I think that's a Cynthia I know. How are you? Denise, you're welcome. Edward, you're very welcome. Okay. Well, I don't see any questions. Okay, so Trent says, what states are best for wholesaling? To be honest, Trent, all states are good. Illinois makes it hard because you have to have that real estate license. Also, really, really expensive states are hard psychologically because a lot of people go to say like Southern California and they're putting houses under contract for, you know, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, and psychologically they're just freaking out. And because they're freaking out, it's hard to do business. And so sometimes psychologically it's better to go somewhere where your brain can imagine writing a contract. And so, but if you're not afraid of prices, we need real estate in the whole country. So every state works beautifully. So that being said, states with the easiest rules and the lowest prices tend to be easiest for beginners. So Illinois is one of the strictest. And then of course you have California is an expensive state. Colorado is an expensive state. And then of course your bigger cities are expensive and it's cheaper out in the rural areas. Again, if you're not afraid of finding investors like me, then price doesn't matter because you'll get it under contract and you'll assign it or double close it to people like me and we have the cash for it. But there you go. Okay. Awesome. You're welcome, Trent. I've had a blast. And Bird Dog Rob. Janice's Bird Dog Rob. Janice, I love it. Okay. Renaud, let's see. Our team of professionals should include what again? Lawyer, CPA, title attorney, realtor, anyone else. Yeah. So, oh, you're in Massachusetts. You know, Janice, I don't know the rules in Massachusetts. So I couldn't speak there to any specific items that they have. So Renaud, yeah, there are a lot of team members that you want in this business, but if you're wholesaling, you definitely want a good solid title company or title attorney for sure. You definitely want real estate agents. You want lawyers. You want accountants. It doesn't hurt you to have contractors on your team, right? Because maybe you have a question about a property. Like, man, can I wholesale this, or is that roof too bad an issue? Right? You take your roofer. He's like, no, we can fix that, no problem. Right? Then you can wholesale it. So getting sometimes information about the building will help you wholesale it to a buyer much easier. So contractors can be, you know, really, really useful. Lenders, even though you're wholesaling, maybe you want to do a double close or you want to do a prehab. So having a lender on board can be helpful. Or even if you're not going to use the lender, sometimes you'll find this great deal and you'll wholesale it to somebody who doesn't have a lender. So if you can refer them to a great hard money lender, that can be really, really useful to have on board. Yeah, so that would be, you know, your contractors, your attorneys, your title companies, real estate agents. Oh, other investors, that's a part of your team, the people you're going to sell to. So going to like investment clubs and getting those people with those investment clubs to come on board and work with you. That can be an incredible way to build your buyers list, right? So a buyers list is good too. So great question, Renaud. Great question. Kevin says, do you disclose the wholesaling fee to the seller? Yeah, that one's a touchy one, Kevin. I didn't say this in this particular webinar just because there wasn't a lot of time, but generally speaking, if you're going to make less than 20 grand, you just do an assignment and the seller and the buyer both can learn what you make. They're just going to see that. But under 20 grand, people tend to just be like, okay, well, over 20 grand, people start to be like, well, why didn't you offer me more? And so when we go over 20 grand, we tend to move more towards a double close. Because in an assignment, everybody learns what you make. In a double close, nobody learns what you make. I mean, if they want to research it several weeks or a month down the road, they can find out. But at closing, they don't know. Because when you buy it, that's one transaction. And when you sell it, it's a separate transaction. So by law, the title companies aren't going to share information across those transactions. So if you're making under 20, we tend to assign it. If you're making over 20, we tend to double close it. Now, that being said, I'm really not afraid to tell people that I'm making a profit. And I tell them, look, this is a risky business, right? I have to hire attorneys and I'd spend a lot of time, effort, and energy to learn how to do this. There's a lot of legal jargon that has to go on. So I do make a decent profit of this. Are you gonna have any problem with that? And so I make it clear that it's can be a difficult business. So I have to make a profit at it. But yeah, there are times in which you will not disclose to them how much you're making. Okay. Again, if it's so much that you've taken advantage of an old lady, well then do it such that if somebody found out, you could, you know, maybe they were mad, you could still say, yeah, but that's the norm for the industry. But yes, we will sometimes use a double close to hide that. We'll also use a double close to like hide it. Like sometimes banks and real estate agents don't want you to assign. And so we'll use a double close to hide that from them as well. Okay. Perfect. Good. Any other questions? Okay. I don't see any other questions. I really, like I said, I always have a good time. I love this industry. There's a lot of power in this industry. Really just wonder. I met a couple, and they did like a deal a year is all they did. They were this elderly couple. They asked what I did. So I'm a real estate investor. And they said, oh man, that's how we retired. We just, in our last 10 years, we would just buy a house and we'd go work on it on the weekends. And they, as a couple of working on it, and then we'd sell it. And they literally would just do that. And for 10 years, they did that. And that was how they retired. So we don't have a lot, but we sure love doing it. So whether you're just doing a deal a year or you turn it into a bigger business, there's a lot of power in real estate, a lot of financial power and leverage. So I'm glad you're here. Have an absolute blast. So Cynthia and Deborah and Denise and Don and Edward, Gail, Hector, Jay Shaw, Janice, Jason, John, Kevin, Renat, and everybody else, thank you for letting me be a part of it. Trent, yes, I am in Arizona. I'm in northeastern Arizona. Is where I'm at. I've done real estate in a variety of states, but this is where I'm at right now. So Edward, thanks, my man. Take care. We'll talk to you guys soon.